Welcome back to the channel. Glad to see you all here again. Today, we're going to go over Proverbs 3, verses 13 through 18, which in my Bible are titled, "Blessed is the one who finds wisdom." And since this is a particularly small passage, I also want to use this as a time to elaborate on a couple of things that I've mentioned, and talked about in my previous videos. So, without further ado, here we go. Starting in verse 13, "Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who gets understanding, for the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed." So, as with, I think, pretty much every passage that I've read so far in Proverbs, Solomon starts by saying that, by emphasizing the value of wisdom. He says in verses 13 and 14 and 15, "Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets understanding, for the gains from her is better than for the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her." So, pretty explicitly saying here that nothing compares to the value of wisdom. And while that might make a little sense, some of you might be wondering, well, what exactly makes wisdom so valuable that it actually is, more valuable than jewels or gold or anything, as Solomon says? Well, that's where I elaborate on what I've been talking about in my previous videos. I've referenced I've referenced God as being the order which governs the universe, and I've never quite heard anyone else talk about God in that way, so I just want to elaborate on what I mean by that, and also the importance of it, which is going to play into the importance of wisdom. So, this requires a little bit of belief, but if God created the universe, then he had to create everything exactly the way that it is. All the rules, meaning the rules of physics and chemistry, which is really just the physics of atoms interacting, but that's beside the point. The laws of biology, psychology, everything. The way colors come from light, that all came from the order established by God. And so, because everything was created so specifically and with rules, it makes sense that living in harmony with those rules is going to give you harmony with the universe, if that makes sense. I want to use an example here. We'll start with something easy: hydration. One of the rules of being alive, I guess, is that you have to stay hydrated. If you don't stay hydrated, you die. So, if you hydrate regularly, I think the recommended amount of water to drink in a day is somewhere between 60 and 80 ounces of water. So, better get drinking. I got my water bottle right here. But so if you drink that recommended amount of water, the parts of your health that are influenced by your consumption of water, which influences in part your electrolyte balance, your blood viscosity, and all the various chemical reactions in your body that require water. all of those are going to be running smoothly. You're not going to have any problems, at least on the water consumption end of those chemicals, or chemical reactions, sorry. And everything's going to be good. But say you don't ever drink water, or you don't drink nearly enough water as you should. The chemical reactions in your body that require water are not going to work as efficiently because they don't have the water that they require. So by not following the rule of, or the rule, I should say, of drinking 60 to 80 ounces of water in a day, you're pulling your body out of consonance with the rules that govern its chemistry, which in turn is going to make your life more difficult. And so that that is the crux, well, in the example, that is the crux of why wisdom is so important. Because there is order to the universe and there are rules to govern it, i.e., gravity, entropy, electricity, or any of the other physical rules that you can name, you have to follow the rules in order to play the game well, I suppose you could say. And so, bringing that back around to wisdom, and why it's more precious than gold or anything else you can imagine, as Solomon says, is because wisdom is applied knowledge of the rules. So, as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, instruction is like learning the rules. So, learning that gravity pulls objects towards Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared. And wisdom is applying that instruction. So, don't jump off of tall buildings. The force generated by the acceleration of Earth's gravity, if the building is tall enough, will probably kill you, and if it doesn't kill you, it will probably greatly injure you. So, if you apply the wisdom to that knowledge of the universe, you've extended your life, as it says in verse 16, long life is in her right hand, and in verse 17, your ways will be, wisdom's ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. So, if no one jumped off buildings, that part of human living, to the extent that it's on roofs or dangerous ledges, would be peaceful. And, dare I say, marginally more pleasant than, heaven forbid, anyone jumping off of roofs or tall buildings. What might be more interesting than how wisdom leads to a long life is how wisdom, as Solomon says in verse 17, leads to riches and honor. Well, some of the rules of the universe are describing ways to get the most out of an opportunity or the most out of an effort. And so, just like with farming, as was in my last video, if you perform, or if you follow the rules which govern the yield of your crop, then, or as opposed to not following them, so, this could be things as simple as planting the right plants for your climate, using plants that are accustomed to the soil in your area, making sure that they're watered and fertilized properly, etc., keeping away insects. If you do all those things, then you're going to maximize your yields, which, if you sell your yields, then you'll have gained, and you'll get the most gains possible with the property that you have if you follow all of the rules exactly. That said, agricultural science is very advanced compared to what it used to be, but that's not to say that it's perfect by any means at this point in time, nor is there anything to say that it will ever be exactly perfect. But the point is the same. The closer you get to following those rules exactly, the closer you're getting to that maximum yield and the highest potential for earning through selling your crops. And honor. Honor is tricky because not a lot of people in modern day care about honor. And, maybe that's because, as other philosophers have noted, like Montesquieu, to name one, honor is more of a monarchical um, virtue. That's the word. A monarchical virtue. Whereas democracy depends more on virtuous virtue. So, you know, having integrity and things like that. As opposed to honor, which I suppose integrity lends itself into, but honor is the more subject to following the culture of the time and doing brave acts when, bravery couldn't really be expected of you. Say, if you're fighting in a war and you happen upon 10 guys and you're just one guy, but you charge in anyway. That would be brave, and if you succeed, well, I guess even if you died, that would bring you much honor in, that kind of medieval honor sense, monarchical sense. How does wisdom bring honor? After much thought, I've concluded that wisdom brings honor in that a lot of wisdom is subjected around living well and avoiding pitfalls in life and, in general, doing what's right over what you may be inclined to do or maybe want to do. And by that kind of self-sacrifice of your interests for what's best, which, admittedly is not always what we have in our interest, I believe that does indeed bring honor. So having talked about everything in verse 13 through 17, we've got this last verse, verse 18. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. The Bible, having been written by people who lived in Egypt the Middle East, I suppose, for pretty much the whole time, including Greece and all of those other places. But especially in the desert, trees are very valuable, not only because they provide shade from the heat of the sun, but they also are indicators of water and other life-giving substances such as that. And so when Solomon says that she is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her, what he's saying is that wisdom is what brings you life. Because as I've talked about in other videos, lack of wisdom can lead to death. And also because, as Solomon says, and as I think he's pointed out in every section every chapter of Proverbs thus far, the value of wisdom is greater than anything and leads to more life, more peace, and all that jazz. Thus, those who hold her fast, as he says, are called blessed. If you enjoyed the content in this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and check out my other videos, and let me know your comments down below. Let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about specifically from the Bible, or modern day events, or any book of philosophy you've read, or anything, and I'll try to give it a listen and talk about it. Thanks for coming. It's nice to see you here, and as always, Kernels in, Kernels out.